Okay, so we're back with my favorite project of recent. This is the number 2 video in a series on the early to mid 60s Epiphone Riviera 12 string. I had a lot of other guitars to get finished, and I didn't want to start this one until I had enough time to really devote to it. I've done some other checking. I haven't taken the strings off yet. Today we're going to measure the neck relief, and we're going to get this off and make sure that the truss rod actually works on this 60-something-year-old guitar. And that's where we're at. So let's capo. This is video number 2. We'll have a whole series on this thing soon. I hope I'm in the movie. Which I want to make sure that I am. Body joint, doesn't matter how old the guitar is. These measurements and the way you check neck relief is standard on every guitar. I don't care what it is. So capo at the 1st fret, string at the body joint, and go to the 7th fret at 12 thousandths of an inch. It's just kissing. It's so close, it's probably right. It's probably right, which amazes me. But I want to pull this cover off anyway, find out what's in there, and see it, make sure that the truss rod can move. Because when I cut these strings off, I have to be able to set the neck in a straight, flat condition to store it, because I'm not going to finish this guitar all in one sitting. This could take several videos, as I've said. So, off we come. Got a little thing with the nuts and screws and bolts. Magnet, get out of there. I'm going to guess that no one has probably ever been in here. Let's take a closer look. Don't know if this will be in the video. Oh, we got some thunderstorms going on. Sorry about that. I see. Get my bionic eyes on. I see some schmutz here. Looks like maybe at some point somebody put some wax or something in there. It's just kind of sitting there, but it's a nut, not an Allen. It is, and that's what you would see on the Gibson. Even my modern-ish Gibson Thunderbird has a nut in there. In other words, you have to put a socket on it. Get you all in the movie. Sorry about that, folks. Not happy with that. Let's get a little further down here where we're in the movie. Everything. There we go. Okay, so I think I know what size this is. And they haven't changed for a million years. Well, that one certainly did. Alright, let's see what we got here. I'm going to guess that is going to be that. Trying to find the right socket. I'm guessing 5/16. Right there. And that is what it is. I'm going to need... Okay, we're back. It is 5/16. 60-year-old guitar, and it is just beautiful. So we'll know if we loosen it, we're going to get way more neck relief. Let's just check that and make sure. So that truss rod seems like it's working beautifully. Body joint, 7th fret. Oh yeah, gave me a lot more relief. So if anything, that's the direction I need to go in. Once we cut all these strings off, we're going to set it in a straight condition. When we may have to, once we get the neck, all the string tension off of there, it may set that neck into may relax too much. So we're going to keep that tool out. We're going to probably need it. So what I see here, 12 strings are funky, and some of them are different, some of them are the same. You have the low E as if it were just a 6-string. That one goes to the 2nd peg head. The octave string, that's much smaller, goes in the outside nut slot and goes to the 1st peg. And as you pluck those first 2 strings, it makes a chord, as it were. And you're going to have 12 of them like that. So I'm going to cut these off. The moment of truth, once I do that, I am the man. I have to live with it. Everything else will be a straight setup. But I need to get the strings off, set the neck in a completely flat state, because it's going to take me some time to clean the guitar. That's going to be the first order of business once we get the strings off. Normally I would tell you never take all the strings off if you can avoid it. But sometimes when you're working on a guitar that's, well, like this one that's this old, we're going to have to spend a lot of time working on the paint and the finish. Front, back, the back of the neck, the headstock. I might even have to take off the hardware up here. I'm going to try to avoid dismantling anything that doesn't need to be dismantled, because as I said in the first video, this is a survivor guitar and I want to leave it in as much original condition as possible. The only new thing I'm going to put on it so far is a new set of strings, all 12, and I'm going to try to find, if I can, the E emblem that goes there for Epiphone, and I'm having a little trouble sourcing the right one. Okay, we'll get back to you. So, as you can see, we've taken all the strings off. We've taken the saddle assembly off. I taped that up. I got to pay attention to that. It needs a good cleaning. And the tail assembly, I taped it down just so it doesn't move or damage any of the paint. Gibson style tuners for the 12 string from way back in the 60s. And these things are grungy, dirty nastiness. I'm going to have to clean every one of these gear sets. And I'm going to do them one at a time. First the bass side, and I have to pull all these bushings out and clean those up so that they turn and operate smoothly. Just to give you an idea of what we're up against. This is not a simple restring. So we'll get back at you. We'll talk soon. So just to clarify where we're at, actually have taken off the bass side tuning peg assembly. So how they come off, all in one piece on this particular model, which is awesome. These are the bushings. The bushings are going to have to come out, and thank Buddha that every one of them is loose and ready to come out. But I noticed when I was taking the strings off, as I was unwinding the strings, the bushings were actually turning in there, which tells me that every one of these tuning peg studs needs to be cleaned and lubricated properly. They're actually quite tacky. They need to move freely inside of these bushings. So we're going to do first the bass side, then we're going to do the treble side. So the next time you see this guitar, I will have all these cleaned up, lubed, and back in there. And at the same time, we're going to clean up. I don't know if that's in the movie, but you can see how dirty the headstock is. So we're going to clean all that schmutz up too and make this guitar come back to life one step at a time. This guitar deserves that. It's going to take a lot of attention to detail, especially because these things are 60 years old and they don't make them. You can get something similar to it, but it won't be what this guitar was born with, and that's the whole object of this project, as it were, to bring this guitar back to life with everything that's on it and is original, because everything on this guitar is original, as I've said many times. So the next time you see me, we will have this back on there. We'll get this cleaned up as best we can. We're going to do half, and then when we take the other side off, we'll clean that up, and we'll move on slowly but surely. And eventually this guitar is going to come back to life. We'll talk soon. Have a great time.